here today, and we wanted to do something different. We wanted to talk about actually what we talk, you and I,
Yeah.
but try to open it up so that you see, we see, you guys see. What are the things that bother us, or what do we work on? What are our challenges?
Well,
Mike,
we have a lot of challenges.
no, but I
Yeah.
want to continue the conversation there where we
Yeah.
left off, because I thought this is interesting because you might relate to some of these things in a different way. But
So my question was to you was, what is the role of the agency, in a sense, for what is it the expectations of a broker?
give the context. Why were you asking that
The
question?
reason why I say that is simple. For example, you'll have many brokers that have certain expectations, and even though you work, you're in amongst a lot of great brokers and you're doing a lot of great things as an agency director or whatever. Where do you draw the line in terms of what you should do or what you should not do, or what their expectations are, and how not to deceive them in terms of what their expectations are?
So I've been doing this for a long time now,
Yeah.
and it's really hard to define that. I think it relates to how is the broker perceiving what the role of the agency is. To give you a bit of an example, today I met with someone that's considering becoming a real estate broker, and this person said to me, I'd like to intern to find out what it is to be the day to day of a broker. And so I said, well, can you give me the vision of what you think it is the day to day?
Yeah.
Because I kind of know, after doing this for quite a bit of time, meeting hundreds, if not thousands, of brokers, that the vision that this person had, or the image in her head of what it is the day to day, is probably not the reality, right? You know
Right.
that.
Yeah.
And what she described as the day to day has nothing to do with what it really is. So where I'm going with this, the original question is the role of the agency. So a brand new broker, or someone coming in the industry to become a real estate broker, how do they see or envision the participation of the agency?
Yeah.
Now, what could it be? I mean, what are the different models out there?
There's many models. I mean, there's a model where the agency is going to be implicated more, implicated less. What are they offering in terms of services? I mean, some discount agencies, won't give you much. You'll have to be on your own.
Mike, there's also the interpretation.
Yeah.
Like if I explain something to you, you see it or hear it a certain way. We talk about repetition of the message. We were discussing this earlier. If I say that door to me looks a certain color, it looks beige to me. Now
Yeah.
you look at it and you might think, well, no, to me it's more of a, I don't know, wood color. Okay, I call it
Perception,
beige. You call it wood color. It's hard. It's very hard to be very specific with transferring what we're trying, the message, and making sure. It's almost impossible to have the same perception of something.
Yeah.
It's like a client. For those of you that were brokers, you meet a seller, you meet a buyer, you say, the vendor says, I'm in no rush. But what does that mean for you? What does it mean? I'm in no rush to sell my house.
Yeah.
I always say, don't leave that vague.
Yeah.
Ask them, well, what does that mean to you? Because for me, it might mean 3 months.
Yeah.
It might mean a year. For them, it might be 3 years. I don't know.
Yeah.
So ask the question. So it's the same for brokers. The brokers come, they interview, they have an image already of what an agency should be doing.
Yeah.
I like to ask, well, what is your vision
What's your
of our
expectations?
participation?
Yeah. Asking what your expectations are, and so that there's a clarity in them understanding what it is that you're going to be offering as an agency and what they can expect as a return.
I like what you said also about, well, how do I say this is not part of my service, or this is not what we do as an agency director? We don't go all the way to that end, or how do we handle that? Like what were you saying about that?
Well, that's the thing, like how much do you get implicated, into a certain situation, however it is, and I mean, and where do you draw the line without a person necessarily feeling that you're not doing enough, or where do you draw the line because you think you're doing too much? So I think that's where I guess you got to gauge it. I guess.
But what about asking the broker in question, depending on the situation? Yesterday, we had a newer broker. Well, not new in experience, but new to our company.
Yeah.
And you were there with me, and this broker was. We were talking. I was explaining a strategy, and to do certain things to grow their business. And then he says, "Well, yeah, well, I can't remember word for word, but it was like what? Like, are you going to do? What are you going to do? And what
Yeah.
did I say?
Said I'm not going to do it. You're going to do it.
I'm not. I'm going to give you
Yeah.
the spiritual concept of what needs to be done, but for depending on the commission structure that you have with certain individual,
Yeah.
you know, if you're in a team and it's a 50-50 thing, then it's going to be different than if you're an independent contractor and you're giving 5% of your gross commission to the agency. I'm going to help you with understanding the spirit of what you should be doing, but I'm not going to do the mechanical part.
Yeah.
Or else it won't be 5%. Because why? I have a limited amount of time. You have a limited amount of time. That's our business model. So we need to be conscious. You know, I spend a lot of time on time and how much time, because if we're not conscious of it,
Yeah.
that's where we can get lost in becoming non-profitable, because we spend way too much time for one specific situation or scenario where now there's no more profit. There's no more possibility of
Yeah.
profit.
Yeah. You're limited.
What do I say all the time about this? I call it the cycle.
Yeah.
What do I say?
To keep the cycle short.
So, but what does that mean to you, Mike?
Well,
I'm doing it right now with you. What is your interpretation of?
Well, to keep the cycle short. I mean,
but give it in the context of I'm a real estate broker. What does that mean to the real estate broker? Because it applies to anybody. But let's assume that there's more brokers looking at us right now than anybody else.
Well, I mean, to keep the cycle short, I mean, there's many ways it brings up to interpretation. But I mean, for example, how many meetings would you need with a person to be able to close a deal?
Yeah, okay.
Or
yes,
how much time do you need to spend, with a particular person to get something done, and understanding, the cycle of where you're actually getting, moving ahead, or are you just turning in circles? So I guess that would be
pretty much
a way to put it.
So if you're doing a listing presentation, you're going in, you're doing 7 meetings to try to convert, and or your meetings are 7 hours long. Now, I remember when I first started doing listing presentation, I would sit there for as long as it was required because I had nothing else to do.
Yeah.
And I was hoping that, hey, if I'm sitting there for 3-4 hours, I'm increasing the odds of conversion. But then at the end of the 4 hours, let's say, what happened? But we're going to think about it. We're going to get back to you in 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
What the hell? I just spent 4 hours. So
yeah.
Figuring out how to shorten that cycle, that's my expression,
yeah.
so that I know that, okay, it's not dragging on. It's too long. So these are the things we have to work on. This is what you have to work on. And we have the same problems.
Yeah.
Any cycle has to be shortened. Expectations, I think the conclusion here is what? Is that ask the question. Don't let your own interpretation of what that means in any context. Ask the question.
Yeah, I agree.
There you go.
Yeah, I think it makes sense. But I think it's not the only thing that we face also. I think we face also the challenges.
Tell me more.
Well,
Tell me more, Mike.
The challenge is that the fact that we do have a lot of deadlines to meet. We do have to prioritize sometimes of what's more important, what's less important, even though in the long term they're all equally important. But being able to manage that and to find out exactly what we need to do.
And you know what?
Yeah.
The more I want to help, the more I want to give, the more I want to do for the brokers, the more what? The more what happens?
I don't know.
The more criticism, the more it's like, oh, it's not enough, and it's a never-ending thing. I think you got to learn to live with it. It's not a bad thing. I just think it's part of it. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So because we want to do this, we want to do the leads program, we want to facilitate the business, we have the mentorship team, we want to do prep sessions to help out new brokers. We have our own teachers. We want to do what we call the quick starting your business hell week. It's a condensed 4-day thing where we built this studio, spent how much money spent on this thing? Why? So that our brokers can put themselves out there, and all these complications. Yeah. It's a lot. Now, who does all this stuff? Not your typical agency owner.
No.
I don't know no agency out there in the whole province of Quebec that has what we have as a setup.
No.
Not one.
No.
Yet there's still criticism. It's not enough. It should be more. You should give us more, but it's part of it. It's like those clients. I remember a scenario. these clients were my worst clients. The ones where I gave them even more than I should. Like I remember this specific property I listed. This is in the beginning again. They lived in Ontario, and I lived near the house that I had as a listing. I used to go pick up the mail. I used to go water the plants, shovel the snow off the path, like go above and beyond, because I thought I'm gonna give them the best service in the world, so they'll refer me everybody, right? That's the logical way of thinking about it. But what happened? Guess what happened after a few weeks? Can you guess what happened, Mike?
You didn't get the listing?
No, I had the listing.
Okay.
But what happened?
I don't know.
They took it away. One day, they're in from Ontario for the weekend. They call me in and say, "Hey, let's get together." I'm like, "Yeah, sure, no, makes sense. Catch up." I go. I'm all happy. And they sit me down at the dining room, and they're not looking at me, and they're like, "We'd like for you to take your sign, and we're gonna list with someone else." And I'm like, blown away. Like I thought they were gonna give me a gift. And they're like, "No, we think we really feel that you're not really focused on us and our property." And I'm thinking to myself, are you insane? I don't do this for no one. I don't shovel and pick up the mail, water their plants, go. And they took the listing away. So my point is, I'm not saying not to go above and beyond. Go above and beyond if that's your business model, and do what you got to do. But don't expect everybody to be just understanding or what's the right word?
Complacent?
No, not everybody's going to appreciate or feel like, okay, this is great. Like everybody's got different expectations. What I should have done, which I didn't do, is ask them, well, what is your expectation at the time of taking that contract? What do you expect now? Like I went through my offer of service.
Yeah.
What's your expectation? Define it clearly. Do you want me to call you every day, text you every day, email you every day, once a week? How do you prefer I communicate? And what's the frequency? Do you expect me here at every visit? You got to ask these questions and not assume. So all that to say, you could choose whatever you want as a business model, but the complaints or the unhappy clients is never going to go away. No. There's always a percent.
Yeah.
So you got to accept it, live with it, smile, and keep going.
I agree.
There you go. So hopefully this helps. You're not alone. You see what we're talking about, and you're like, hey, me too. This is how I feel. This is what I go through. And that's the whole point of this, is for you to feel that you're in this with us.
Exactly.
Take care, guys. See you tomorrow.
Okay.